due to COVID, we were unable to have our normal family night. And so what I've asked our teachers to do is just be willing to sit down with me and just hold a discussion about what is happening in your child's respective grade. And so with me, I have Mrs. Sam Styer, and so she is just, well, first of all, she spends a lot of time with the seventh graders over the course of any given day. And so just thankful that she's willing to sit with us and talk for a few minutes about what's going on in your child's classroom and what we're hoping to accomplish as a school. So Mrs. Styer, the first thing I would like to ask you about is what is really some of the main objectives that we have for our students in the seventh grade?
Seventh grade is really a bridge year for a lot of our students. It's the year that they get lockers, it's the year where they're on a bell schedule, and so with that comes the need for them to be more responsible. And so in seventh grade, our goal is really equipping them with the tools necessary to do that. We focus a lot on organization and study skills. We spend a lot of time developing their ability to write and to communicate what they're thinking well. We also spend some time putting them up in front of the classroom and letting them get comfortable with being around or being in front of the class and presenting their ideas as well, because we know that all these skills are scaffolding them for eighth grade, high school, and even beyond that. Yeah, so I'm really hearing you say that so much of what happens in seventh grade is preparation for what's going to happen in the future, but also a big transition year for us. Talk specifically to what happens in the classical area. I mean, what we do is part of this classical Christian education. And so what might that look like, different strategies that are used within the classroom in the seventh grade to help us with that? Absolutely. Well, I think the biggest goal of classical Christian education is to make much of Jesus. And that's what we're trying to do in every single class, every single day. We spend a lot of time on the transcendentals, really hitting the theme of truth, beauty, and goodness, and not just in literature or not just in history, but across the board. In every content area, we're asking the students to identify what is true, what is beautiful, and what is good. We spend a lot of time in discussions, so most of our classes are very discussion-based, question and answer. We expect the students to be able to point to the text and point to evidence within the text. And so we're trying to teach them how to do that and how to not just memorize things because they know how to do that. The grammar schools prepared them well in that area. So we're trying to teach them how to apply things and how to analyze things and start to formulate their own arguments.
Yeah, so I'd like to turn a little bit from just overall philosophy about why we do what we do and what that actually looks like to maybe this group of seventh graders in particular. Maybe what would you identify as some strengths you're seeing among this group? What are some areas that you're thinking, you know what, we really want to see some growth as we continue to push forward throughout the year?
It's so nice to be in the classroom with students again this year.
Yeah.
One thing I love about the seventh grade is their eagerness. They are excited to learn. They come in each day and they participate and they engage not just with me but also with each other when we're able to do some discussion. So I love that about the seventh grade. One thing that we want to support them in, and this is something we see in every seventh grade class, is really honing in on those organizational skills. Things like using a planner well, knowing when to go to a locker and what to get. Also, one thing that we want them to grow in is becoming advocates. How can they advocate for themselves when they don't understand something? And teaching them the skill of approaching a teacher and saying, I need extra help with this. Could I come see you at lunch? Or could I come see you before school? So really teaching them how to kind of take responsibility for their learning in some ways.
Yeah, that's a great point. And not only do we see that in the middle school years, but also in the older ages as well. But yeah, trying to teach them to become more responsible is such a great point there. Some of the parents might be asking, okay, so are there any events coming up? Is there anything happening maybe over the next 6 months that we need to be aware of? Anything happening there?
Yes, seventh grade always, well, I shouldn't say always, but typically goes on the big Atlanta field trip. It's a 2-night, 3-day trip where we
hoping that works.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Where we get to go down and see ancient history museums, go to the Biblical History Center and have a biblical meal. Letters have already gone home to parents about their interest in chaperoning, so parents, make sure you turn those in and get those back to Mrs. Blackburn for us. A couple other things on the horizon. We always do a Greek Day celebration because we spend a lot of time in ancient Greece in the 7th grade, and that's across all content areas. That's one of the really cool things about 7th is content really holds hands, like literature holds hands with history, holds hands with Bible, and we get to see it across content areas. So we'll have a big Greek Day. Parents, we always need volunteers to run games, to provide a Greek feast, to come watch monologue presentations. So that will be in mid to late spring. And then the other thing we just need from parents is just support your kids because they are in a transition year. They're learning a lot. Encourage them to be responsible, but also understand that there are going to be times when they need to step up and help support them because they may not be 100% ready on their own yet.
Thank you, Mrs. Styer. I want to speak to you as parents, talking about parents, and we and you will be receiving an email, hopefully by the time you actually see this video, which will give you instructions on how to sign up for a parent-teacher conference. We're asking every parent to have at least one parent-teacher conference. If you've met with your students' teachers within the last 4 to 5 weeks, you don't have to do that. Really important, if you have more than one child in the 7th through 12th grades that you need to meet with a teacher about, you'll need to fill out 2 separate forms, so you can't do that under just one form. So thank you again, Mrs. Styer. Appreciate y'all watching, and we look forward to seeing you at the Parent-Teacher Conference.